Well, we're coming up to game week 25, guys. Getting closer and closer to the final countdown. Diddly-do. But yeah, getting closer and closer to the end. We're starting to see not necessarily the twilight of the season. I think there's still a heck of a lot to go. I mean, at the end of the day, there's still 14 game weeks to play. There's still 42 points left to play for every team. So, you never know. You absolutely never know. There's still nothing's been confirmed at all in terms of championships, in terms of relegations, in terms of confirmation to go to the next level, like all that sort of thing. So there's still a lot to play for, but we did have a good fun game week, and we've got another one coming up. So should we get straight on into it? Should we get straight on into reviewing what happened? Let's get into it. And we started off fairly boringly, let's say. I mean, there was a little bit of drama in the early game, which was Brighton Hove Albion versus Everton. David Moyes got booked. The manager got booked, or perhaps even sent off for celebrating a little too aggressively. I don't know how true it is, but it is what it is. But it was a 1-1 draw, a point apiece. Didn't really help either team. You sometimes hear that, by the way, in football. A draw doesn't help either team. And the reason is the fact that it's just a point. A win gets you 3 points, and you would actually get more points from winning and losing 2 matches like that than drawing 2 in a row. So a draw doesn't really help either of them. They've kind of lost a little bit of ground, but it was a fair result considering everything that happened. Then we moved into Arsenal versus Leeds, and that is the best result Arsenal could have hoped for. After everything that they've gone through over the past few weeks, where they have stumbled, is probably the best way of putting it. I think it's a fair assessment to call it, at least. After everything that's gone there, to absolutely demolish Leeds at Leeds' ground as well, 4-0. Very impressive from Arsenal. Just really, really good stuff from them. Then we came on to Wolverhampton Wanderers versus Bournemouth, and a bit of an unfair result on Wolverhampton Wanderers. They showed to be the better team, if I'm being honest, and it was 2 sucker punches from Bournemouth scoring a couple of goals. Both against the run of play, but getting the points. And again, Bournemouth struggled a little bit, back on form, which is where we want to see them. Then we came to the first blockbuster of the weekend, which was Chelsea versus West Ham. I've got to be honest, right? This was the one match I was like, I don't know if I want to watch this. Like, it's obvious Chelsea are going to win. It's obvious Chelsea are going to win this one. I really didn't think it was worth watching. And then I saw a half-time report, and West Ham were 2-0 up. Now, we could look at the bright spark of Chelsea getting that comeback and getting a 3-2 win. Fair play to them. We could look at West Ham, their bright start, that they are showing the character that they want to see. But that wasn't really the talking point of the match. No. The talking point of the match was what happened right at the end. There was a brawl that happened. This was a fight that happened at the end of a football match. So Adama Traore, who, if you've not seen him, he's built more like a wrestler than a footballer. He has got arms as thick as my head. The guy is a unit. And he didn't like a referee's decision. And so he decided to just throw his arms like in a bit of a rant. Unfortunately for him, at that point, there was a Chelsea player in front of him, and what he basically did was threw a Chelsea player to the ground. Did he get sent off? No, which was nuts. But what was not then happened was that all of the players decided to go into a brawl. One of the West Ham players went for another Chelsea player's neck. Red card. It's one of those ones where, if I'm being honest, I'm surprised it was only one red card. It was ridiculous, and I suppose it's the way you want to talk about this is as a football fan, you kind of want a little bit of aggression from your football club. Absolutely, right? Because that shows that passion, If something feels unfair or unjust to you and you just pass it off like nothing else, like, it can look like you don't care. You want to be showing a little bit of aggression. But when it ticks over into a brawl from your players and your players started it, it can be a bit concerning. It can show that there is a lack of discipline. And West Ham are probably looking at themselves in the mirror quite a lot at the moment. It'll be interesting if they can tone it back a bit and basically show that spirit that they did in the first half against Chelsea. They'll be fine. But if they show more glimmers of what happened at the end of the match, they're in real trouble. And I find it ironic that about 10 years ago, might not even been that, they got a European Championship place through the Fair Play Award. But yeah. And then finally, we had one more match that was in the Premier League on the Saturday, which was Liverpool versus Newcastle United, and they had us in the first half. I'm not gonna lie, I didn't get a chance to watch this. I was playing some games with friends, and Newcastle scored first. And I've got to be honest, I was nervous. If anyone saw last week's video, I basically predicted that Newcastle United were going to potentially win. I was really nervous. But then something freaking clicked. I mean, there is so much we can talk about. Florian Wirtz, Hugo Ekitike, Ibrahima Konate. And I think out of the three of them, I probably am going to talk about Ibrahima Konate. Ekitike we've spoken about a lot, and I think over the past few weeks we've spoken about Florian Wirtz showing his class. But I want to use this as an opportunity, if he ever watches this, to apologise to Ibrahima Konate. I don't know. So the full story is that last week Ibrahima Konate's father passed away. That's the reason why he wasn't in the squad. Konate, that was, for emotional reasons. And then he turned up against Newcastle United. He didn't have to, by the way. His manager on the slot said, no, don't have to if you don't want to. But no, he turned up and turned in one of the most elite performances I have ever seen. Like, even without the goal that he scored, that fourth goal, the one that had him crying, the one that had the goalkeeper from their team sprint the entire length of the pitch to give him a hug. That's what it is to be a true man, by the way. To know when someone needs you, right? All of that Didn't need to score a goal. He showed elite levels performance. And the reason why I want to say about apologise this, I don't know how long Ibrahima Konate has been dealing with this. Dealing with his dad struggling for physical health. You know, sometimes the passing of a family friend or a family member can be sudden. Sometimes it can be a long illness, and maybe that was the case with his dad. But we'd always put it down to Ibrahima Konate being distracted, being, thinking about going to Real Madrid at the end of the year. Which, by the way, might still happen given Liverpool's latest transfer dealings, but we'd put it down to that. So throughout all of this, he's been dealing with all the, and sometimes what it ends up taking is just for a certain difficult saga to end, as brutal as it is, to switch it back into gear. Does that make sense? Like, yeah, I don't know. I just feel that maybe Konate might just refocus for the rest of the season. I just get that feeling. Yeah. That's my thoughts anyway. Anyways, Sunday. We still had other matches to think about. We had 4, in fact. We started off with Aston Villa versus Brentford, which, oh my God, what the hell happened in this one? First ever incident, Brentford red card. Brentford had one less player on the pitch than Aston Villa did. And then Brentford scored. And then Brentford's goalkeeper puts in a man-of-the-match performance and kept it at 1-0. Incredible turnaround for Brentford. And hugely disappointing for Aston Villa. Where's this form gone? What's happened here, Aston Villa? I don't get it. I really don't get it. Really, really don't get it. And whilst Aston Villa were trying to break down Brentford, we had 2 other matches going on. Nottingham Forest versus Crystal Palace first. We had one of the best saves of the weekend in the Nottingham Forest Crystal Palace game. It was a Nottingham Forest player. Just a shame it wasn't the goalkeeper. Yes, Nico Williams got himself a red card for a top-tier save that was 1-1. I think it was 1-1 at that time anyway. But yeah, Nottingham Forest got a red card. I kind of want to talk about this, actually, because I don't know if this is a rule in football we need to sort out. I don't know if there is a rule in football that we can look at that basically goes, if an outfield player saves the ball on the line with their hand, then it's counted as a goal. Like, if it's an illegal stopping, I don't know. I just, whenever I think about it, right, the one game that stands out to me, this was from 2010, the South African World Cup. It was between Uruguay and Ghana, and Luis Suarez, the Uruguayan striker, the infamous Uruguayan striker, saved a ball on the line. It's very similar to what Nico Williams did on the Sunday. And it was given as a penalty. It was given as a handball. Luis Suarez was sent off. Ghana didn't score the penalty. I suppose what I'm trying to say is, should it be a penalty in the first place? Should it just be an outright goal? At the end of the day, that ball was heading in the goal. I don't know. Maybe there should be something that discourages further outfield players from taking a risk for taking one for the team, because like in just imagine it was like the 91st minute, and this was the opportunity for Crystal Palace to win the game. I don't know. It just feels like, even though the player is getting a red card, that the offending team is getting a second chance. Does that make sense? Like, yeah, I don't know. Then we have Manchester United versus Fulham, by the way. Man United 2-0 win, 2-0 lead. Fulham then managed to equalise through a very appropriate Home Alone reference in Kevin scoring what everyone thought to be the equaliser, and then a minute later, Benjamin Sesko scores the winner. Incredible. As a Liverpool fan, I was gutted, and you will see the reasons why even before the rivalry. But yeah, that's how it was. And then game Tottenham Hotspur Man City. Right, this was funny. I watched the first half of this at my own place on a Sunday. I like to go around parents' house. We spend some time together. We bond together. And so at half time, it was 2-0, and I drove over to my dad's, and I said to my dad, "Yeah, the Tottenham Hotspur Man City game, it's just gonna be a Man City win. Tottenham Hotspur don't look like they care. It's all very weird." But we put it on anyway, because there was nothing else to do. And, well, someone didn't tell Dominic Solanke what was going on, did they? Solanke scores a first goal that was dubious, but I'm going to give it to him. And then the second one. That scorpion kick from Dominic Solanke was nuts. If you get the chance to watch a replay of it, guys, just watch it. It was crazy. Insane. Both me and my dad were both out of our seats, like going, what have we just witnessed today? Absolutely nuts. Doesn't happen that often, and you're blessed when you get to see it. Anyways, we then moved on to Monday. There was stuff that happened on the Monday as well. We had Sunderland versus Burnley. Call for as you like. Sunderland, Burnley didn't even get a touch. A shot really. Kind of easy for Sunderland, and a 3-0 victory. So, where did that leave the tables? Well, this is where we are in terms of the tables, and Arsenal now have a 6-point advantage over Manchester City, a 7-point advantage over Aston Villa. By no means is it an absolute done deal. We are still talking about the equivalent of 2 wins, which is still achievable. Like I say, 14 games to go, 42 points to play for. There's still a chance, but Arsenal just got a bit more control now in the title race. But again, 4th, 5th and 6th. Manchester United, Chelsea, Liverpool. I think that these guys are now realising that it's personal between the 3 of them, and they're going to be battling it away. And that is going to be a very fun fight for 4th place. And here's the thing. They continue to battle, and let's say Aston Villa continue to fall off. We're talking a battle for 3rd place. But it doesn't stop there, because behind them we've now got Brentford, Sunderland, Fulham, Everton, Newcastle, Bournemouth, potentially even Brighton. All of them still could have hopes of finishing in the top 7, maybe even the top 6 at some point, which is a big thing. because then they could qualify for European competitions, which is big money and prestige as well. And for fans of the clubs, it's a good fun year out, let's say, right? Crystal Palace are going through a rough time at the moment, but Crystal Palace fans are still travelling to different places and getting to enjoy different cultures, getting to expand their horizons when it comes to European competitions. The same for Nottingham Forest, and it's fun for your team. As much as you might be like going, oh, it's nothing competition, it is fun to watch a new team join the European competitions for the first time, either for the first time ever or for the first time in a load of years. I think for Sunderland, it would be like the first time in European competitions for about 60 years, I believe. Certainly, we're talking at least 30 years plus, I believe, anyway. So that's the way in which it is. Now, sort of jumping over a little bit, we then have the bottom. Nothing mathematically done, but Wolverhampton Wanderers do now look like they really, really are cut off. We are talking 18 points from safety. And they'll need to get more than 18 points because that is just how it is. And like I say, 42 points to play for. So they can still do it. It's still possible for them to do it. They still mathematically could finish in 50 points, which at the moment is more than what Manchester City have got. But when you're a team that struggles to get draws and wins, it is more of a challenge. Burnley as well, again, still in that realms. And West Ham, they're still there. They've dropped a point, but they're still there. And Leeds United, Nottingham Forest, they're just fighting to keep alive. But I want to put in a little bit of caution for Crystal Palace and for Tottenham Hotspur that are only 9 points ahead of the bottom three that will go down. This is one of the things that we see in the season a lot, right? Is actually not necessarily the one right at the bottom, although sometimes that happens too, but the ones, let's say, from 16th to 20th, they know that it's a difficult season. Leeds United have known it from the start because they only just got promoted last season. Nottingham Forest have felt it for a while. They're already in this. We're fighting to stay alive. We're fighting to stay alive. For Crystal Palace and Tottenham Hotspur, they are in this sort of, at the moment, no man's land where they could end up. The phrase is called sleepwalking. They could end up sleepwalking into a situation where all of a sudden, we're only a couple of points ahead of 18th. And then it's a struggle to wake the players up. And do you know what? I was thinking about this before we started recording this. Which one would I be more concerned about? And honestly, they're both as concerning as each other. Now, for Crystal Palace, it's down to the fact that they've got a European competition for the first time. Their squad isn't big enough. They've got a striker who has basically gone on strike in that Jean-Philippe Mateta wanted to leave the club. He failed his medical, so as a result, he's having surgery to not play for the club ever again, basically. They've got a new striker coming in, but their squad is having to deal with the torment or the challenges, let's say, of the European competitions and this one, right? And for Tottenham Hotspur, I don't know what's going on. There was a little bit of spirit against Man City, which is good, but I've not seen enough of that spirit. At least with Crystal Palace at the start of the season, they were looking good. And it's dropped off a little bit. Tottenham Hotspur really haven't got going at all. It's like they've constantly been in that situation of trying to start the car, and it's constantly going dun 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 dun. You know, both of them is concerning. And Brighton, if I'm being honest, will probably have their eye over their shoulder too. But at least they've been here before. At least their run has had at least one win in it. You know, just something concerning. That's my thoughts on that anyway. So now let's look ahead to the next matches with all that in mind, with all that jeopardy. We did have some midweek fixtures. Quite simple. We were talking about the English League Cup. We're now at the final stage. We now know our final two teams that are going to be going down to Wembley. It's going to be Arsenal on the one side, finishing off the job against Chelsea. So it was a 4-2 win over 2 matches for them. And then on the Wednesday, it was a 5-1 victory over 2 matches for Manchester City. So it's going to be an Arsenal-Manchester City final for the English League Cup final to see who's going to win that title. Now, let's go into these matches. We're going to start off, interestingly, with 16th against 17th. Leeds United against Nottingham Forest. Feels like it's going to be a winner-takes-all sort of thing of like whoever wins will get that little boost above the others. And I'm going to give it to Nottingham Forest. I feel like the result against Arsenal might have just knocked the stuffing out of Leeds. I don't know if they will still have the spirit. If they do, and they do get the win, incredible. But yeah, I'm going to give it to Nottingham Forest. I feel like Nottingham Forest will feel that their team spirit will be better having got a draw despite having a man sent off than Leeds United will feel losing 4-0 to Arsenal. Despite the fact that Arsenal are the better team than Crystal Palace, who Nottingham Forest are playing. Yeah, I think Nottingham Forest will get the win here. But a draw probably won't help either of them. Then we move on to Saturday. We have a few matches on Saturday. We start off Manchester United versus Tottenham Hotspur, a lunchtime kickoff as well. A big trip for Tottenham Hotspur, going from London to Manchester. It's a hell of a trek. And Manchester United are on form. What was the guy? The guy with the big afro that wouldn't shave his hair unless Man United won 5 in a row. I think they could tick over to 4. I really do. I think Manchester United could get the win here. As hard as it is to say that as a Liverpool fan, I do think Manchester United will get the win. And we have Bournemouth versus Aston Villa. Aston Villa will want to get things going, but Bournemouth are a streetwise team. I'm going to go for 1-1. Arsenal versus Sunderland as well. Sunderland struggle away. I think it's going to be a 3-0 victory for Arsenal. I think Arsenal will want to get this victory, given the fact that they didn't beat Sunderland at Sunderland's ground. They'll want to get their own back. We then have Burnley versus West Ham United. So similar to Leeds versus Nottingham Forest in the battle to see who can be the one that gets distance to the relegation zone. Burnley versus West Ham is going to be basically who's going to be the front runner. And with West Ham spirit, I'm going to give it to them. I think they're going to feel a bit buoyed by what's happened. So yeah, West Ham win for that one. Then we go on to Fulham versus Everton. Both of them competing for the European places. Fulham win, just because it's at home. Wolverhampton Wanderers versus Chelsea. I think Wolverhampton Wanderers have been incredible, but I think I'm going to give it a narrow win to Chelsea. Liam Rosenior has been good, let's be honest. Come out with some weird sayings, but he's been good, right? Newcastle versus Brentford. Would help if scrolled down. Newcastle versus Brentford. Newcastle are going to feel gutted after their loss to Liverpool, and I get the feeling that the Newcastle fans are going to want a performance and a half from Newcastle. This is where Newcastle's ground can end up going against them, because the fans could be fired up and booing the players if Brentford get a good start. And Brentford have shown how good they can be defensively. So I'm going to go for a draw. 0-0, 1-1, one of those two. Sunday next, we have two. Brighton Hove Albion versus Crystal Palace. This, despite the fact that Brighton Hove Albion are at the south of the country and Crystal Palace are in London, this apparently is a derby. And I think that Strand Larsen, the new striker for Crystal Palace, will get a goal. I think it is going to be a 1-0 victory for Crystal Palace. And fair play to them if they do that. Then we come to the small matter of Liverpool versus Manchester City. Manchester City haven't won at Anfield for a hell of a long time. Do I think they're going to do it this time? I'm going to have hope. It's tricky, you know. Really, really tricky. Because Manchester City in the first half against Tottenham Hotspur looked really good. But maybe there's a bit of a sleepwalking thing there. I'm gonna show hopeful for my boys. Liverpool 2-1 victory. I think I feel optimistic. Yeah, 2-1 victory for Liverpool over Manchester City. And then finally, we have nothing else. Nothing else. That is it. That is what I think is going to happen. I'd love to know your thoughts on what you think is going to happen. Best of luck to your teams. And until next time, guys, all I have to say is take care.